and safe today on this nice Saturday morning. It's a little gloomy out here in Bangalore, but hopefully things will look bright in the days to come. Uh, my name is Shorojit Mukherjee, and I am the CEO of E2E Rail, and I shall be the host for today's webinar with you. Uh, at the start only, I just want to make it clear to everybody that today we are not going to discuss anything about these uncertain times which we are going through, these unhappy times. Uh, See, it's a known secret that the more we talk about negativity, the more impetus it gets, the more powerful it gets. So let's keep our all these inhibitions and this fear aside, and let's talk about something constructive today, something positive, something encouraging. And what better than gaining and sharing some knowledge and real insights about the industry we all are working with, and we all are part of, and all the people who are aspiring to work with us. Right. So to start with, I will just take a minute to express our deepest condolences on the demise of our Honorable Minister of State, Minister of State Railways, Shri Suresh Angari. He passed away 2 days back, and he has been an enigmatic leader and have taken several steps towards the progress of railways, as also the development of the people of his constituency. I was in personal contact with him, and I have been privileged to get some insights from him. I promise from the railway fraternity behalf that whatever plans he have taken up, we will keep the lamp burning, and we will make sure that all of that turns into reality in some time. So before I start the seminar, for all the participants, let me just tell you a little, give you some tasks regarding the, so that for everyone's convenience, the meeting flow does not hamper. Please mute your mic and avoid the video so that there is no strain on the bandwidth. There will be question and answer session after each of the panelists discussion and this speaking, and you can just type your queries while the panelists are talking on the chat box, or you can raise your hand so that we can just coordinate on the question and answer after the discussion happens, right? So most probably, so we are on a high bandwidth internet. So if there is a connectivity issue in your part, please be patient. It's most probably it will be your connectivity issue which will prompt that you can log out and log in again to have a better session, right? So let me start with the agenda of today's program, right? So we are right now ready. We are right now ready to dive into the pool of sharing knowledge and getting insight about the most talked about phenomena right now in the rail industry, the evolution and the emerging technology in the signaling field. We shall be discussing about how Indian Railways are planning to implement the new signaling technologies which are coming up. Also, we will be discussing about the challenges from the implementation perspective, the gap in the skilled workforce, and also from the OEM point of view and contractor point of view, that what are the different challenges we are facing to implement and what is the way forward. So this is what is the theme of the webinar today. Now I am delighted to say that we have a stellar group of panelists today with us, with Pradeep Kumar sir and Manoj themselves are on the panel to discuss about the various aspects. And we have our very own Yogendra Sharma sir, who is one of the most celebrated railway professionals in India right now. And he has 37 years of experience in both working in the corporate and the authorities, the government sector. And I will request him to basically take forward this webinar and give a keynote address and introduce our panelists. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sarojit. Thank you. It is a lovely morning, and I think welcome to every one of the registered candidates on this wonderful discussion we had today. We have really the domain expert, both from the industry as well as from the Government of India, Ministry of Railways. So it would be a fantastic combination of the industry as well as the policy makers to talk about, to discuss, to deliberate what is happening in the emerging technology of signaling and communications with reference to railways and the Indian Railways in particular. Next, please. Next, Sarojit. Yeah. So today we have on the panel, starting from Shri Pradeep Kumar. He is the member Infrastructure Railway Board, apex body for the Government of India, Ministry of Railways. He is one of the 4 members, and he controls the entire infrastructure, including civil, including signaling, including communication, including electric traction per se. So all the infrastructure, fixed infrastructure, whatever you may see, is under the control of Shri Pradeep Kumar. So welcome, Pradeep Kumar ji. Next speaker is Shri Manoj Kumar. He comes from the industry, and he is today head and director of Hitachi Rail STS, which is a Korean company. And he is doing great works in execution, in design, in commissioning of lots of facilities all across the country. And he will give you the latest update, what is up, and then what are the challenges, and how he is going to meet, particularly with reference to Make in India initiatives. Then we have Saurajit Mukherjee, he is Chief Executive Officer of E2E Rail, which is a EPC company, and also do a lot of good work in training and skill development. And that is the subject of the today, and they have already started online training programs. So people have already started those classes, and those courses are becoming very, very popular. So he will be benefiting us with what they are doing on meeting the demand of the industry by providing skilled manpower. So that is Saurajit Mukherjee and myself. So next, please. So I'll briefly introduce the panelists, starting from myself. I'm Yogendra Sharma. I'm Indian Railway Traffic Officer of 1981 batch. I've got total 36 years of experience, including 24 years with the Government of India, Ministry of Railways, and 12 years in the corporate sector, including 4 years stint outside of India, where I was head of rail in Australia, building 399 kilometers from coal mine to a port on the east coast of Queensland, which is in Australia. So I had a fairly good exposure on the project, on the operations, on the maintenance, as well as on the safety and other aspects of the rail operations per se. I have been actively involved in policy making, in particularly with public-private partnership. Way back in 2011-2012, I contributed to drafting the very vital policy, which is now quite popular, and by which a number of SPVs have already come up in India, as many as 20, where private sector as well as the PSUs as well as the other state governments have already joined hands with the Ministry of Railways in forming those joint venture companies in expansion of railway network, and also in building the railway assets such as locomotives, the coaches, as well as wagons. So that policy is really becoming more and more popular with the investors as well as with the financiers. So that is about myself. and I will be sharing my basically experience on the operational aspect of the new technology, why it is important, why it is so relevant, and where it is required and in what form. So that will be discussed when we go across. Number two, please. Next. Then come to Shri Pradeep Kumar, Member Infrastructure, Railway Board, Minister of Railways, and ex-officer Secretary Government of India. So it is the apex body, and we are so lucky, we are honored, we are so privileged to have him here on this webinar, and he will give the first experience from the top policy making body, what is happening in rail technology, particularly signaling and communication. He comes from Indian Railway Service of Signaling Engineers of 1981 batch, same batch as of mine. And incidentally, we worked together in Railway Board way back in late 90s, early 2000. So he was Director Tele and I was Director Operations in Ministry. So we go, we understand each other so well. He comes from IIT Roorkee, and he also have a business management degree from South University of South Wales, that is Australia, based out of Sydney. So he has tremendous exposure on the railway matters. He has got many courses and many awards, many recognitions, and he has held many positions starting from divisional offices, then zonal railways, then he was head of training institute, which is Indian Railway Institute of Management, and finally he came to Railway Board as member, and that is the apex body. So we are privileged. So thank you very much, Pradeep ji. Next, please. Manoj comes from industry, and he is currently head and director of Hitachi Rail STS India. He has 24 years plus experience in design, execution, maintenance, business development, operational aspect of everything, all related to signaling and comm. He is expert, and he has been widely traveled. He is a known face. I mean, you will see him in different seminars, webinars. Or he is a man of the industry, so he knows everything. So we will hear from him what is happening in this industry and how he is going to position himself and his fellow colleagues to meet those challenges in the emerging technology of signaling and communication. So he is the market leader, and so thank you very much, Manoj. And I forgot to mention that he comes from Kharagpur, IIT. So he is a technocrat, and then obviously he has been helping lastly in Gatiman Express in providing technology on board communication as well as in Mumbai Metro. So he's everywhere in metros, in mainline operations, in private sidings, in other private railway lines. So Ansaldo, and this because the railway is the central subject. There is no state controlled, and those 18 zonal railways are headed by the rank of general managers. So and each zonal railway is one, you can say, a functional unit. These zonal railways are further divided into divisions, and today we have got as many as 69 divisions all across Indian Railways, and each division is headed by a divisional railway manager, and they control about 1,500 or 2,000 kilometers of track or the network. So they are generally, this is the organizational structure we are talking about. To assist the Ministry of Railways and the rail operations as well as the production and construction and design, everything, Indian Railway has got a number of public sector undertakings owned and managed by the ministry, such as RDSO, which is Design and Standard Organization based out of Lucknow. So RDSO basically work for prescribing the design and standards for every aspect of rail infrastructure, and that is apex body as far as the research and standard is concerned. Second one is RITES, which is a consulting and advisory arm of the railways. They have been providing great services globally in carrying out consultancy services for huge, the large project, both in terms of rail as well as highways, as oil and gas sector. So Arides is a big company, and they are providing multiple services. And they have now recently started building the project under EPC contract. So they are also carrying out the construction, as well as they are known for leasing the rolling stock, such as locomotives or the wagons and coaches to other countries such as Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or even Pakistan. So they are exporting locomotives, procuring from Indian Railways. The next one is the construction companies under the Ministry of Railways. There are IRCON, which is the Indian Railway Construction Company. Then second one is CORE, which is based out of Allahabad, which is responsible for erection and commissioning of overhead traction establishment. Then come to RailTel, which is the company dealing with railway communication and signaling, installations and commissioning. And lastly is the Rail Vikas Nigam, which is again a construction company handling across India various big projects, including for Calcutta Metro, for various states. So it's a big company again. So this is about the construction. Now come to operations. There are two basically the SPVs, sorry, PSUs in the Ministry of Railways. One is the CONCOR, which is the container logistics company, and they move a container all across the country. They've got about 80 container depots or terminals or multi-logistics park, multimodal logistics park, and they have got hundreds of rakes of flat wagons and thousands of containers moving domestic as well as EXIM cargo all across. So this is CONCOR, and is a blue chip company, is highly efficient, and they are now running timetable trains between the various terminals. Then come to IRCTC, Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation. It is the latest, and they are into management of passenger services. Currently, they are running private trains between Delhi and Lucknow. They are also working on other sectors like Delhi and Jammu, and they are also running a lot of tourist trains, high-end tourist trains, very luxurious tourist trains, in various parts of the country, including on both Buddha sector. I mean, including East India, like West Bengal, like Bihar, like Eastern UP. So they are also providing catering services on board as well as on stations, and now providing ticketing through Indian Railway, passenger reservation system. So they are the biggest company for providing online booking for passengers on Indian Railways across the board. Then we have got production units. So, Indian Railway cannot sustain unless they have their own production units, because they have huge requirement of rolling stock. So we have got diesel locomotive works out of Varanasi. Then we have got Chittaranjan locomotive works, and then we have got integral coach factory out of Chennai, which is manufacturing coaches historically. And we have got another coach factory which is out of Kapurthala, which is RCM. So these are the rolling stock manufacturing companies or factories or production units under Ministry of Railways. And if you look at the continuous supply and training, upgradation of manpower, it's a huge challenge. Not only Indian Railways have got 1.3 million workforce, but they also have a very established network of training institutes all across the country, providing training to Group A officers in NAIR, which is National Academy of Indian Railways, out of Baroda. Then we have got IRISET, which is for signaling, out of Secunderabad. We have got IRENE for electricals, which is in Nasik. We have got IRISEN, which is for civil, which is at Pune. And we have got IRITAM, which is for traffic and transportation, which is there in Lucknow. And we have got Indian Railway Institute of Finance Management, which is again out of Hyderabad. So these are the training institutes for Group A officers. Then each zonal railway have got one JTS, Zonal Training School, which is for providing training for Group B and Group C employees. And finally, we have got system training centers at each division, providing training for Group D officers or Group D staff. This is about training. Now, coming back to the business, Indian Railway have got basically three business segments. One is the passengers, 22.5 million every day, which is the freight, 3.3 million ton of freight every day. And then we have got other coachings such as parcels or luggage or other small goods. They come under parcel category. Then we have got hill railways, which do not move any freight traffic. They only move passengers and parcels. And there are many hill railways in India of 2.2 feet 6-inch gauge or even 2 feet gauge. They are very special gauge and they are historically very significant in providing connectivity to remote areas of the country, which are quite challenging in topography. In operations, no need to say that the signaling and communication play a very vital role, because it is not only the mobility, not only the speed, not only the punctuality, but it is the safety of trains, which is assured, or which is command by signaling and communication network, and that's what is the is a very key to train operations. And this webinar will be focused and is focused on signaling and communication as we go along. On the signaling, even though we have an subject expert, both from Ministry of Railways as well as from the industry, but I would like to just highlight that we will be talking about the automatic signaling on mainline railway routes. Then we talk about the station signaling, particularly PI, panel interlocking, then EI, electronic interlocking, then centralized traffic control. This is on the management of stations. Then we are ahead of us, the introduction of high-speed trains, which are very much in news these days, and Indian Railway is now making all the preparations to see that these trains run at the maximum speed of 200 kmph, and with the latest technology, in which I will leave it to Shri Pradeep Kumar and Manoj to talk about. And then we have got recent regional connectivity, such as National Capital Region Transport Corporation out of Delhi. We have got they have got a JV with the state government of UP, Rajasthan, and Delhi, with the central government of Ministry of Urban Development, and they are providing connectivity to Delhi commuters, and they will have the technology of ATP and also I think ATO, automatic train operations. So we will talk about this in detail. Then come to suburban mobility. And suburban mobility is very important, particularly for busy cities such as Mumbai and MRVC, DMRC. Other metros are doing a great job. They have also adopted the latest technology of signaling and communication to ensure that they meet or they fulfill the demand of daily commuters in taking them to their office and workplace and back to their home in the evening. Then we are coming with high-speed train. I mean, already one sector is already under progress, under development, and of late the tenders have been opened, and number of parties have applied for construction of infrastructure between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. And many other routes have also been identified for introduction of high-speed trains in India. And lastly, we talk about optical fiber connectivity for providing faster communication through railway network. So that's about the mobility of railways. Next, please. Okay, now I'll not take much of time because I'll hand over now to the subject expert. But before that, I would like to flag these four major issues for discussion today. And one of them is, what are the emerging signaling and communication technologies, gentlemen, which are suitable for Indian Railways in different segments? For example, I'm talking about passengers, I'm talking about suburban, I'm talking about metros, I'm talking about light railways, and I'm talking about freight business on dedicated freight corridor. So which are the technologies for different market segments we would like to discuss today? And I think I will request the panelists to talk about these when we go along. Number two is that the government is very much focused on for Make in India, and now Make for World. There are two buzzwords going around: Make in India, Make for World. So under Make in India, we are targeting establishment of major manufacturing entities all across the country, for providing support to railways, all hardware, rolling stock, all the equipments, manufacturing, maintenance of machines, and signaling, communication, electronics, everything. So we have to have a major tie-up with the global companies, industries, and they have to set up the bases in India to make India completely self-reliant. Otherwise, India has been importing small components such as, engine pistons or rings or rubber pads or something like that. But now India is becoming self-reliant, and this is opening up huge opportunities for the people who want to have their career in manufacturing as well as in design and also in execution. So this is the second aspect I would like to flag today for the panelists. The third one, since most of the investment in the new technologies aimed from private sector under PPP, you have seen a lot of news items talking about private participation in building rolling stock, such as there are 2 loco factories already working in Bihar, one for diesel, one for electric, and there are factories coming up for manufacturing of rolling stock, such as EMUs, and also for wagons. So therefore, more and more investment is going to come through private sector. But whether or not the private sector has got adequate resources to get skilled manpower, get skilled workforce. They don't have the training institutes on their own, unlike Indian Railways. So they have to depend upon the external resources for not only providing the manpower, but providing manpower with suitable skill sets. So this is what is challenge, and I think we need to discuss this in the webinar today. And lastly, whether industry is prepared or India is prepared to meeting those training demands, which are huge, like 2 million people are engaged in railways, particularly 0.7 or 0.8 million in the private sector. Where are they going to be trained? And how? And which are the resources? And secondly, who will guide them? There is no single framework which provide them a kind of and since Shri Pradeep Kumar has already worked as director of National Academy of Railway in Baroda, he has got the first-hand experience in training, and I would request him to enlighten us on the training aspect and also for the. So I will now hand over to Shri Pradeep Kumar. He is a member infrastructure review board, and over to him, Pradeep ji.
Thank you very much, Yugen Sharma ji, and I'm really very grateful to you and the CEO of E2E Rail Group, Mr. Surojit Mukherjee, who have invited me for this talk, such an interesting topic, and amongst so many learned panelists. And I can find, I was just checking, about 159 participants have been connected, just now are connected.
Yeah.
So I'm really very grateful to you. Good morning to all of you. This Yugen Sharma ji, we have worked together, and I was so happy when we met here again in the board. So I mean, he is doing a great job, and I wish him all the best, and he should continue to do the good job. The other panelist, Mr. Manoj Kumar, he is their director, Hitachi. I welcome him, and I saw my ex-boss, Mr. Arun Saxena, is also here. He is retired general manager of NCR, which I saw some chat of his. He said the modern coach factory is also there, so don't forget that. It's also making. I mean, it has now for the last couple of years, it has increased. Is it doubled, rather tripled its production of coaches? So welcome to all the participants. At the outset, I'm just like to share what Surojit Mukherjee said, that our honorable MOSR, late Sri Suresh Angreji has departed, had left us a couple of days ago. We were really very, very sad. And personally, I had a lot of interaction with him. He was so keen in developing the rail network in not only in all over Indian Railway, but also more particularly in the Karnataka area. And now and then he would call us, discuss, and tell the plights of the poor people living in those areas for construction of RUBs or construction of ROB or new line. It is great loss to us. It is very difficult to find a politician like him. He was such a perfect gentleman, and I think whoever has met him will always remember him forever for such a great, such a noble person.
Yeah.
So of course we have to carry on our business, and as Surojit said that whatever he wanted railways to do, if we can do it, that will be a good sort of a message for him. Well, so I'm very I again thank Yogen Sharma ji. He has given a very detailed introduction of not only of mine but also of the Indian Railways, because he has been there for so many years, and he has covered each and every aspect. With regard to the current program of Indian Railways, as we know that this government is very keen in expanding the infrastructure. Somehow we were not able to spend the kind of money which was required to be spent on expansion of the infrastructure. And as a result, there were so many bottlenecks that we were not able to run our trains. There is demand. People are demanding to run more passenger trains. People are demanding to run more goods train during peak season. We are not able to run the trains because of the path capacity constraint. We are not able to maintain our track because we are not getting the required traffic blocks. So this was realized, and we decided to invest a lot of money and expand our network. So of course, safety was the priority. So the capacity, the generation of throughput capacity, the line capacity. So these were two things that to improve the line capacity and also to expand our network. We, as you know, that we have got about 68,000 route kilometers of network. Out of that, 34,000 route kilometer network, we call it high density network. 11,000 kilometers is high density network, we call it HDN, and 23,000 kilometers is a highly utilized network. So total about 34,000 kilometers. This 34,000 kilometer network carries 96% of traffic, and out of this, about 11,000 kilometers is a single line as on date. So you can imagine the kind of still as on this September 2020, we have got about 11,000 kilometers of single network, a single line on this highly utilized network, and about 500 kilometers even on the HDN network. So we have decided that these network we will make it double by the end of 2024, so that my 11,000 kilometer high density network and 23,000 kilometer of highly utilized network becomes double. And multi-tracking is also being done on these route. So in all, we last year we did about 6,000 kilometer of new track. Next 4 years, that is 2024, we are planning to complete at least 14. Sorry, this uh, 6,000. All right. Okay. The about 14,000 kilometer of network we are going to lay in next 4 years time. This electrification, you know, this is also one of the very, very important program of Indian Railways. We had decided that we will do the 100% electrification, and the target is December 2023. By December 2023, we will be having, as of now, we have got about 40,000 route kilometer of network is electrified, and remaining about 24,000 route kilometer network shall be electrified by 2023. And we are on course. We had a review meeting recently, and we are pretty much sure that by, because it will also improve our throughput requirement. Similarly, as you know that the speed of Indian Railways of the trains is not really good. The average speed of goods train and average speed of passenger train is not up to the mark. So recently we have converted the Delhi Mumbai and Delhi Howrah route to 130 kilometer, and remaining golden route, the GQGD we call Golden Gwalior and Golden Diagonal, that will be raised to 130 kilometer per hour by next year. And there is a plan of upgrading the speed of Delhi Mumbai and Delhi Mughalsarai, Delhi Mumbai and Delhi Howrah route to 160 kmph. The work is already sanctioned, and the work will be completed by March 2024. On this network, we are going to provide TCAS system on this entire network. And another flagship program is of the station redevelopment under PPP. In first phase, we are covering about 50 stations, and we are hopeful that the agencies shall be fixed for all the 50 stations by the end of next year. Now, coming back to the signaling, as we know that the safety is very, very important for any transport network, and along with the safety, the speed and the throughput. So signaling provides not only enhance the safety but also the mobility in train operations. It facilitates trains at higher speed because, as you know, if your speed is more than 130 kmph, you have to have some kind of automatic train protection system. Otherwise, you cannot go beyond 130 kmph. In fact, in most of the railways in the world, if the speed is more than 110 kilometers, they provide some kind of automatic train protection system. Fog is a reason. During fog, we know that trains cannot run at proper speeds because of the visibility issue. This ATP kind of system, it helps also to run train at good speed during inclement weather. Of course, providing integrated control and command system. It also facilitates real-time train running information to passengers, and real-time surveillance is also to the passengers. That is also a very, very important item. Wi-Fi enabled stations and onboard infotainment is also required. As you know that as of now, we are having all kinds of signaling. Even as of now, even the semaphore signals, that mechanical signaling, are also existing at about 292 stations. We have got electronic interlocking, we have got relay-based interlocking, all kinds of interlocking is there. So we have decided that gradually we will provide everywhere this all existing mechanical signaling and electromechanical signaling shall be replaced by electronic interlocking. As of now, we are having about 2,000 electronic interlocking systems on our Indian Railways out of 6,400 interlocked stations. Modern train control system, currently we have got about only 950 route kilometer of some kind of ATP. So that is a very, very meager, just less than 2% of the entire route. TCAS based ATP system on about 30,000 route kilometer of freight, HDN and HUN route is planned to be provided in 5 years' time. TCAS works are sanctioned for about 1,200 route kilometers. They are under implementation on South Central Railway. In fact, the work was awarded last year in November, but it could not progress because of COVID. And now it is progressing. Tender for ETCS level 2 has also been opened up for 640 route kilometers. This work is being done by Railtel Corporation of India Limited. We have decided to provide LTE-based mobile train radio communication on entire system, for which we are expecting very soon approval of the cabinet for 5 megahertz spectrum in 700 megahertz band. We have already obtained the clearance from WPC and clearance from the DOT, and the cabinet note is under active consideration by the cabinet. Digital access counter-based train detection system shall be provided on the entire network by 2030. TMS and with CTC functionality on SDN network in 4 to 5 years' time. OFC we have provided in a big way, but still certain portions are left out. That will also be completed in next 2 to 3 years of time. Likely investment would be of the order of 40,000 to 50,000 crores over next 5 to 7 years' time. Next, please. Yeah, so now, as I told you that electronic interlocking, we already have about 2,000 stations out of 6,400 stations as on date. Works are already in progress for about 1,000 plus stations. Mechanical signaling stations are still existing. As I told you, 292 stations. We are planning it to remove them, eliminate them in next 2 to 3 years' time. We were having a lot of problem for funding because this is being funded by RRSK and where the amount is less. So we have decided recently that these works shall be funded out of electrification work wherever electrification is going on, or doubling work wherever doubling is going on, because doubling and electrification works are being funded through EBR. That is external borrowing, because of the rate of return is good. So funding problem we have not sorted out. So this work will be done. We have, as of now, electronic interlocking vendors only 4. We want that this vendor base should go up, because the kind of the network infrastructure we are going to increase. These 4 vendors will not be sufficient. Upgradation is being done for interoperability with other make of EIE, CTC, TCAS, block logic to be built in EIE logic itself, and direct driving functions we are also trying to develop so that from the EIE, the external function can be directly driven without any relay-based interface. Next. This CTC, this is also an area where we were in Indian Railways, we are lagging. We have recently commissioned a CTC at Tundla, which is on Aligarh-Kanpur section. About 250 kilometers route is being controlled with about 29 stations. CTC work on about 7,000 route kilometers covering 16 zones have already been approved at a cost of more than 6,000 crores. 5 TMS systems are also already sanctioned at Delhi, Chennai, Sialda, Khurda Road, and Kharagpur. We are planning to cover entire SDN route of 11,000 kilometers with CTC and TMS. Next. Coming back to the ATP, we were looking for this reliable, cost-effective ATP system for a long time, because a lot of facilities by way of tax ticketing has been provided to the station and station master, but there's nothing is available to the driver. Driver is dependent only on his skills, and no automatic protection is available to him for passing the signal at danger. He has to stop by seeing this signal, whether it is green or whether it is red or yellow or whatever. So for prevention of collision due to speed and over speeding, this is required. As I've already told that 950 kilometer has some kind of ATP. Out of that, 350 kilometer is having TPWS, which we call train protection and warning system. This is based on European train control system level 1 technology. And another 250 kilometer we are having our indigenously developed train collision avoidance system, which is called TCAS. As I discussed, 4 pilot systems of ETC level 2 are under bidding. CBTC on Mumbai Suburban and Kolkata Metro have been sanctioned, and on Kolkata Metro, the work will be taken up soon. The work of CBTC in Mumbai Suburban is being done by MRBC, which is another PSU. Indigenous TCAS has been successfully certified and approved by RDSO for 160 kilometer speed, and extended trials for another 1200 kilometers have been taken up. Being upgraded for working in automatic blocks signaling, CTC and LTE. Similarly, TCAS is being developed for interoperable system with global ATP systems such as ETC level 1 and level 2, so that we can not only provide within India, but also we can export this product to the other railways in the world. TCAS being adopted as national ATP system to fulfill Atmanirbhar Bharat mission to be provided. This will be provided on SDN and freight dense HUN routes in next 4 to 5 years. Works of TCAS has already been approved for 30,000 route kilometers at a cost of more than 12,000 crores. 3 vendors are already there, as I told, but we need to have many more. For that, expression of interest has been issued by the RDSO. Next. Automatic block signaling in this area also we are lagging, because in fact this is a very important signaling for increasing the line capacity, particularly on saturated routes. It's a very cost-effective scheme for improving the line capacity. So far, we have just 3,300 route kilometer of automatic signaling in place. There is a proposal to cover the all freight dense SDN and HUN route with automatic block signaling. Honorable MR during last review meeting has categorically directed that this should be done, and it should be done in 5 years time frame. Already works for 5,400 kilometers at a cost of 4,000 crores have been sanctioned, and remaining works shall be included during current year or maybe next year in the pink book. Digital axle counter are used for implementing automatic black box signaling. For DAC, there are 6 vendors, and out of these 6 vendors, two are indigenous. Next. This is another area. This AI-powered IoT-based predictive maintenance system. It is very important, so that instead of periodic corrective maintenance, we are doing condition-based predictive maintenance. And before equipment fails, we should get to know of its condition, and we are able to take preventive action so that the system does not affect, because this is the equipment failure, asset failure, the reliability of asset and asset maintenance and asset failure is a very cause of concern. So in fact, RDSO is working on developing a generic specs. Systems, in fact, 2 systems have been provided, one in Agra division and another in Moradabad division. And this work for 100 systems has also been sanctioned. In Delhi, Mumbai, and Delhi, Kolkata, where we are going to have 160 kilometer speed, that entire section shall be covered with AI-powered IoT-based predictive maintenance system. Next. Optic fiber cable, we started long back instead of conventional cable-based or microwave-based network. And when the RailTel was formed, sometime about 19 years, 20 years ago, that time we were having about 4,000 of root kilometer of network. And with the RailTel coming in, our this all overhead alignment, they were all got replaced, and OFC, as of now, OFC is available roughly on 60,000 root kilometer. Whatever is balanced, that will be replaced in two years time. So all our telecom network, all our communication network will be running on high speed optical fiber cable system, and communication is really required for modern signaling system also. Next. This free Wi-Fi service at station, as you all know, this Honorable Minister wanted that Wi-Fi system should be provided at all stations, and I'm happy that as of now, there are about 5,700 stations have been covered wherever optical fiber cable was there. They have already been covered. And this work has been done by RailTel Corporation of India Limited, and they have done it in a very short time. And it is you must have seen a lot of success stories how the people living around the railway station, small railway stations, they have utilized these free Wi-Fi services for preparation of their exams and getting selected also later on. And you can see that even 2.22 crore Wi-Fi users per month are using it, and they are consuming 9,000 terabytes of data. Next. CCTV at stations and in coaches. This is also one of our important programs, and because for the passengers' security and safety, this is very important. At present, we have got CCTV system at about 600 stations and 2,000 coaches. And CCTV is planned to be provided all stations, all 6,400 stations or 100% stations are to be covered. The work is already sanctioned, and there was some problem in the tender. This work is being done by the RailTel. The tender has to be discharged, and now a fresh tender is being invited, and we are pretty sure that all the stations, railway stations of Indian Railways shall be covered in next 2 years' time with this CCTV system. Similarly, coaches also, we want to provide all the 58,000 coaches running on Indian Railways with this CCTV system. And yeah, next please. MTRC, that is also again a very, very important requirement for safety and train operations. For signaling also, as you know, all signaling is now, it is communication based. As of now, we have got hardly about 3,000 route kilometer of mobile train radio communication, and it has been now decided that the LTE 4G based mobile communication system shall be provided along the entire Indian Railway network. The work for 30,000 route kilometer has already been sanctioned at the cost of 6,000 crores of rupees, and that will be completed in 5 years' time. This 500 megahertz spectrum, which I was discussing, that we are going to get very soon, and this spectrum we are getting in 700 megahertz band. Next. Content on demand. This is also to improve overall passenger experience during train journey. This has been taken up, and this project is also being taken up by has been given to the RailTel Corporation of India, and the objective is to not only increase the non-fare revenue, but also provide a good experience to the passengers. The services will be available in all Mail Express and all suburban trains pan-India. RailTel Corporation is doing this work. The rollout is being planned and phased manner, which will be completed in next 2 years' time. In fact, the work has already been awarded, and but because of the COVID, this could not be taken up further. But I think now this work will be taken up. Next. This rail display network is another initiative by railways, so as to provide contextually rich and relevant railway information to railway users, along with public awareness messages and entertainment content at stations through rail display network. And this RDN network is also being, this shall be also will be provided by the RailTel, and it will be built and operated on a self-sustainable model. This is being implemented by RailTel at over 2,000 railway stations. Next. So now this IR need more manufacturers for EI. We have got just 4 as of now. Actual counters we have got 6. This TCAS we have got 3, and for CTC and TMS also we have got just 2. So because we have to if we have to speed up, and we have to provide this kind of network expansion program which we have got, we need to have more and more vendors. So there's a lot of opportunity for all those vendors who are interested in signaling systems. Development of AI-powered predictive maintenance system, the design, RDSO needs suggestions for developing these systems. We also need Indian firms in the field of safety assessment and software validation of signaling, and of course development of next generation power supply system. That is a very important item. And next generation surge and lightning protection system, because wherever we are having electronics, we are finding during lightning, during rainy season, we are finding that things are failing. So we need a very good next generation surge and lightning protection system to safeguard against the lightning. Modern sensors to work with SNT assets and IoT platform for asset monitoring. One of the important area is the quality of the work. So quality assurance, the supervision, the supervise the people, the training, the trained and skilled staff, because new technologies are coming and our staff are not, although we have got a lot of training institute and but the kind of technology operation is so fast that our own institutions, they are not keeping pace with that, and we are not getting trained and skilled staff. So in this area, there is a lot of scope in the private sector. That similarly from the contractor side also, the contractor, they are also not getting trained and skilled staff for the signaling work. So I feel that yes, there is a lot of scope for the private sector for training the staff and making them suitable for the industry, so that the work, all these projects are completed timely, and the quality is also ensured. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pradeep. It has been very enlightening and such a elaborate, discussion.
Yeah. So actually, I have to leave. Actually, we have a meeting, so I'm already late.
Yeah, good. So over to Saurabh, just
Yes,
a word of thanks for Mr.
Right,
Pradeep.
Thank you so much, sir, for the valuable insights. And it was wonderful having you on the forum and sharing the Indian Railways plans and the technology, emerging technologies. I would just ask you a single question before you obviously have to go to the meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Which just fell into my mind while I just heard you in the last part of it. I understand the emerging technologies and innovations which we are continuously doing on the signaling field. But however, as you rightly said, who are the people who are going to construct it and maintain it? There is a definite shortage on the skilled workforce part of it. So is the government or the railway thinking of something, creating a SPV or a public-private partnership kind of a thing on the training part also, like say in the zonal training schools you have everywhere. So can this kind of an initiative be taken on that part also, where the contractors or the OEMs will also be responsible along with the government to develop this technology in the term of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which we keep on saying? So
well, I think it's a very good idea. We have not thought over it in this direction, although lot of PPP projects are coming up for execution. We are for expanding of network, the PPP form, PPP things are coming up, but in the training sector, this can also be thought over. I think it's a very good idea. Of course, we have not thought it over so far.
Right.
So thank you very much for. I was really happy to be associated, because since I had to go, so I would have loved to remain for some more time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
Right. So I will right now go to some questions and answers. I will like to express my sincere thanks to Arun Saxena sir also. So most of the questions which are being raised by the candidates or the participants are already being answered by Arun Saxena sir. So on the then so what I will suggest, just we will quickly go to Manoj and the director of Hitachi Rail. We are privileged to have him over here. We will also hear him speak about the different technologies which Hitachi Rail is bringing on the table and the kind of participation on these different plans of Indian Railway which has been discussed. And after that, we will take the cumulative questions and answers. And I would also request if Arun Saxena sir would be available by that point of time. And we can have a chat with him also on this forum. We can just put him on as a panelist. Right. Over to you, Manoj. Thank you very much for coming. And we can you can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Saurajit. Thank you, sir, giving for an opportunity to Hitachi Rail STS to be on the panel and share the dais with a honorable member. So Hitachi Rail STS, formerly known as Ansaldo STS, and again, when it came to India, it was known as Union Switch and Signal, is a 150-year-old signaling company. So today we are almost 2 decades with Indian Railways, and we are continuing to work in the railway sector, metro, and monorail also. So the importance of the efficient, reliable railway infrastructure has been the catalyst for major technologically driven change in the rail industry. So having said that, technology alone is not enough to optimize the safety benefits of signaling technology. It also requires broad community education to raise the public awareness and also the rail sector. So Indian Railways and the signaling fraternity should consider if changes could be made at an industry structure level to better meet the needs of the nation's rail network. Right. So I just wanted to bring to the notice of honorable member also, right. As the pace of the technology and the technical challenges accelerate, there must be a culture of continuous improvement, effectiveness, and putting the customer first. So people working in the rail sector must be equipped with the necessary skill to cope with the new technologies and the techniques. So that is one of the important factors when you're bringing in new signaling technologies in the emerging Indian market. So you must identify and establish a new operating model that takes into account these aspects and that supports the regular exchange of challenges and opportunities between railway owners and suppliers. Right. So I'm sure and confident that with our shared goals with Indian Railways and other authorities who are running the metro and monorail, we can establish a new and more effective operation model for our rail industry, and we will ensure this for our future success. So having said that, I would like to we are proud to say that Hitachi Rail STS has around 1,000 stations of electronic interlocking, and these are running with our Microlock 2 systems.
So Manoj, that's the highest number of any OEM have installed in India, right?
Yes, we are the market leaders in this sector.
Right.
So we also have many firsts to our credit when bringing in new technology to India. So being it the electronic interlocking, which 20 years back, it was in the Kharagpur division. The first electronic interlocking was deployed in Chakulia station. So from there, members are also had highlighted a few stations. One is Kharagpur, which is roughly about 800 route station, Asia's largest interlocking station, which is again deployed by Microlock system by Hitachi Rail STS. The main objective to start all this was to increase the section capacity and punctuality in the operation and safety in the running of the trains in this section. And we also have the credit to bring the first auto block signaling and with a microlock on the KFW project, which is popularly known as on the Kanpur and Ghaziabad section. We were the first to come with the CTC, which is deployed in 29 to 30 stations, and it is at Tundla. We were the first to bring the 2 TPWS projects, that is a pilot project which is running safely and which is also having the first 160 kilometers of fastest train running, the Gatiman Express. Yeah. So this runs on the TPWS technology. We are also the first to run the Mumbai monorail, the distance to go track circuit based technology. So these are the technologies which Hitachi has brought to India, and we have the credit of being the first. Having said that, TPWS, I would like to talk about TPWS. It has been quite now almost 10 years. Since 10 years, we have never seen any other project apart from the 2 pilot projects.
Right.
Yes, there is ETS level 2 tender which has been floated. I mean, again, if we have to see some trajectory and traction, I think the signaling systems has to be fast-tracked because this is utmost safety. End of the day, we are talking about safety, and this is very important for us to move this forward. I think, yes, we need to bring in new technologies like electronic interlocking, automatic signaling, CTC, TMS, ETS level 2, TCAS, CBTC, and the high speed, again, which runs on CBTC. I think the steps required from the Indian Railways is to complete overall the full railway network of electronic and signaling. When I talk about full railway overhauling, the track also needs to be done. Otherwise, I mean, you can't have a good signaling system if you don't have a good track. You can't run at 160 or 200 kilometers.
Yeah. Next.
So Hitachi uses the IoT and the digital solution, enhancing the safety and the capacity of the network. We have indigenously designed and manufactured the recent modernization of the signaling telecommunication on the Ghaziabad line, which is roughly about 450 kilometers, which uses the GSMR technology. So I've already told about the TPWS system, the Gatiman Express, which runs at 160 kilometers. The launch of this train has heralded a new era of high-speed travel in India. I think we need to see more and more trains traveling faster in the coming days. I think for that, the industry and Indian Railways have to get along together to make this possible. It is not only the railways or only the industry can achieve through this success. I mean, this is something which Hitachi recently acquired. This is a train maintenance program, a company called Perpetuum in UK. So this particular technology is a pioneer digital technology, which is in operation in UK system, which provides improved efficiency, safety, and quality of services. So once implemented, this could delay and improve the reliability of thousands of passengers traveling on the train. We are still in the process of clearing the antitrust. Once this is cleared, this technology can also come to India. And I think in 2021, we can see this deployed in many of the trains in India.
Thanks, Manoj. So what we were actually discussing about this today before I think the webinar started also. There is a larger question which still exists, that we are jumping from the electromechanical devices in signaling to ITCS level 2 kind of tenders being floated, and still there are so many stations and yards still are using those kind of the historical systems. So given the interdependency, so specifically the technology like say ETCS level 2, where there is a complete interdependency on the other stakeholders also, like say maybe the availability of a locomotive for customization, or the tracks which needs to be built properly to handle those kind of a speed, or say the spectrum availability. We have been discussing back and forth on LTE and GSMR and all these things for quite some time. The bigger question is, are we not jumping, or are we not leaping, taking a larger leap than what it is required right now in the system, rather than going as step by step, like doing a complete electronic interlocking and then going to the ETCS, TPWS or ETCS level 2? So I have just a question like that coming in my mind.
Yeah, Sarojit, the 4 pilot projects which Indian Railways wanted to start, and it was was supposed to be executed through RailTel.
Right.
They had selected the 4 zones where almost all the electronic interlocking were present.
Right.
So that was a good idea to start with, yes. But having done the TPWS in the past, and the project which took about 10 years, so the players, the multinational players were not confident about the scale of the business which we were expecting.
Okay.
Anything in India is getting delayed in terms of infrastructure development, or sometimes it is because of the cost factor or anything. Yes, ETS level 2 is costlier than the TCAS. I agree to it. But yes, if if like Hitachi, if we are assured business is there in India, we are very much sure that we will come with a indigenously manufacturing facility in India, which can cut down the cost. And we know that we have business, and India can service for the India, and India can be for global also. So in that way, I think we can reduce the cost of ETS level 2 compared to the TCAS. And having said that, we could have just waited for the LTE evolution in the global market, because LTE is also still not a proven technology in the global market. We could have started off with the GSMR and with the upgradation to LTE at some point of time, so that at least the project could have been in perspective at the earliest. Now waiting for the bandwidth, waiting for the all these things, approvals from the government, the project is getting delayed, and it loses confidence with the companies like multinational companies working in India.
Confidence with everyone, Manoj. It's basically all the stakeholders, whoever is working on the project, whenever there is a tender comes or some kind of something comes. So there are a lot of stakeholders who are involved in bidding stage itself. And everyone loses confidence when it does not happen eventually, even after so much of deliberations and discussions and the words. So that is something which has been like bugging me for quite some time, that are we ready actually to implement this, or we are just trying to get through, like just rush through the things. So that's something which is keep on coming into my mind, that maybe we could have done in a different way altogether. But obviously you guys know.
It's just my suggestion. Might be others might have a different opinion to it. There's a proven technology like automatic block signaling,
Yes.
which also equally helps in the same aspect like ETS level 2 or a TCAS. Auto block signaling with CTC should still suffice the Indian Railways requirement, which is the most cost-effective solution. Yes, ETS, we have to come up with a new technology when the global market is already with ETS level 2, and they're also with ETS level 3. So we also need to look at that. Yes, but the Indian Railways also has to assure each multinational partner that there's some of a business, assured business, so that they can come and set up their full manufacturing facilities here with all the know-how, technology, and other things, including the technology transfer.
Right. So I'll just have a question from a person called Rahul Bari. He says that which signaling system will be implemented using LTE, ETCS or FRMCS?
It is ETS level 2.
It
For
is-
now, I think it is ETS level 2.
Right. I do not.
It can be used on TCAS also.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah. And the Ankit asks that the current development of TCAS makes it suitable only for GOA1 ATP with driver in the cab. So is this a question or like statement? I don't get it. Okay.
I think the present development on TCAS is to do with only ATP.
Okay.
Sorry, it's GOA1.
GOA1. Yeah.
Yeah. So might be the new players, the global players, when they can come in, if they can achieve this interoperability with the TCAS, they can look at ATP and ATO going forward.
Right. Is there any hands raised, Jagdish, on this? Okay. So I will. Regarding our, I will just come back to the question which I asked Honorable Pradeep Kumar sir also. That what do you think about the gap in the skilled workforce level? Specifically, while say you are an OEM, but obviously the OEM needs to provide the service, and finally we have to construct it, we have to install it, the system, we have to maintain it. With the generation of people who have been working on this on the Indian Railway side, and the new people which are coming in, as an implementer or integrator, I see a lot of gap. I do not get people, skilled workforce to even do a say indoor installation job, or when I talk about TPWS or say onboard systems, people don't have even idea on those things. So what is your take on that? How are you thinking as from a MNC multinational company OEM perspective, how you want to build this up so that whenever these technologies you are implementing it, the synergy is there, or the smooth transition is there for the operation?
Yeah, today we don't have any dearth in the technology on electronic interlocking or automatic block signaling or CTC. You have enough candidates, you have enough engineers in
Right.
India who are capable and who can do this, because these technologies are there from the last 10 years.
Yes, right.
So when it comes to onboard on CBTC technology, yes, people are there with some basic technology. But when it comes to ETS level 2, we still are not completely sure when is this project going to be implemented in India. So if there is a plan or if there is a focus, I think we can plan towards it and train many people to take up this challenge. Bits and pieces here and there, yes, people have the knowledge of ETS level 2.
Yeah, that is what I have also seen across. People have bits and pieces. People have a knowledge, but when we talk about the entire end-to-end bandwidth, I very I don't frequently come across people who knows the subject even properly and how the implementation.
I think once we have some projects in hand,
Right.
yes, that's the time when we can scale up the knowledge base.
Right. I think with the government, when they are investing on these zonal training schools and stuff, they can also think of building, because most of these people are from the railway fraternity. When this maintaining the things are concerned, these are very old people and from the only coming from IRISET. But on the zonal training school level and specifically on the technicians levels also, I think there is a major overhauling required, and government may think of investing something into the training part also to get this industry on a smooth transition level. It's my perspective.
Yeah, I think on the electronic interlocking phase in the sector, yes, there are a lot of training institutes. Indian Railways is doing it. And we have been continuously training the Indian Railway officers.
You have been partners to them, right? Yeah.
Continuously. So whenever there is a new commissioning, also we train them. Apart from that, there is a training school in IRISET, and sometimes every zones come up with a training session for their young officers. So we do impart training to all those on the electronic interlocking space.
Right. Can we go to the top, just a second, a little bit top. Instead of okay, for providing required functional ramps. So Arun Saxena sir says basically instead of providing signaling and train control subsystems for providing the required functionalities in these bits and pieces, it was considered appropriate to provide a holistic, cost-effective modernization plan, which RailTel is executing. So that is what he is saying, sir. Basically, on the train control system, what RailTel is executing right now. Okay, on the perspective. Great. Thank you so much, Manoj. I think I will come into the training part or the training vertical, which we are right now promoting as a company. So to give a background of our company, Manoj already knows that we are partners in some of the projects which we are doing right now in the private yards. We are also we are a EPC company doing track signaling and electrification. However, we also have when we have started in 2010, from that point of time only, we had this in mind that it is not only about developing skilled workforce for ourselves, it is for the industry we should contribute towards to continuously develop our workforce and a skilled workforce to meet the demand supply gap. And it, as Manoj said, that we are continuously innovating and improving on the technology. New emerging technologies on IoTs are coming, on the ETCS level 2s are proposed. However, we need to gear up. We need to gear up our own set of people to meet those challenges. And on that basis, I will E2E Rail basically started the skill development mission around 10 years back. And I'm proud to say that we have trained more than 1,000 resources in various capacities from this institute, and they are already working in different organizations, including Manoj organizations. Also, some of the people who have gone have been working over there as designers, as project managers, in different capabilities. So we are trying to bridge a gap. Basically, there is a huge gap on the supply and demand side on the not only the engineers. So engineers are plenty available on a plenty. However, the employability of that, the industry requires a different skill set. The railway is a very niche subject, and signaling is, and what I should say is, it's much more specific and focused subject, and it requires specific skills. So what the industry requirement is and what the graduates were providing while say a campus recruitment, also there has been a gap. So as a company, we also understood that, because we employ more than 200 people every year, and we feel that when we are getting somebody from a grad school and putting him on the site, it requires at least 3 to 6 months of time to get them accustomed with the railway technology. And which is right now, with the kind of boost in infrastructure which we have, we do not have that bandwidth to give such elongated amount of time for training. So with that focus, we always kept on developing this this concept of rail village, E2E Rail Village, which basically fosters the graduate engineers to upskill themselves, to know the railway different subjects in a at least in a basic level, so that when they are on the field, they could start working immediately. By a little bit of exposure, they can start working immediately. So that's why this main concept of E2E Rail Village came, and it has been running successfully. So I have been talking with the government also and the OEMs also in different capacities to see that there is interconnectivity between this supply and demand continuously being provided to the industry. So if we see that the requirement of the skilled workforce in the rail industry today, only in private sector. So Indian Railway have their own examinations for recruitment. There is I think 1.3 million people already working, and they are still taking people. However, on the private rail industry, who are actually on the ground like us, implementing and constructing those projects, maintaining those things on the ground, we also have a huge amount of requirement. There are around, I think, 2.2 million people are required in the private sector alone for in the next 2 to 3 years to meet the demands of the infrastructure. So this is what I am talking about pre-COVID scenario. So even after post-COVID scenario, I do not think it's a short mid-term kind of a lag which is happening. However, this lull will go in maybe another 6 months of time and 12 months of time. I was just speaking with Manoj before this webinar. He was also of the opinion that around 8 to 10 months more, and we will be back to the infrastructure boom on the railway side again. So it is right time, I feel, for this 2.2 lakh job vacancies which is being created. We as a private player operating on the building the networks, we require people more skilled people in the network. And that's why for electrification, for your signaling, we will be requiring more skilled candidates. And there are no places for the normal people to get trained if they are not part of the Indian railway system. There are very few institutes which operates focused on giving a railway engineering kind of a subject, and we are trying to bridge that gap. We are trying to address that concern of the industry. And as a company, I also feel that I will be much more inclined to induct people who have a basic knowledge on and the basic skill sets, so that they can start working immediately, and I do not have to pay him for 6 months of time without doing anything, and just for a training. It's very difficult where the timelines are stringent and we need to deliver more. As per Indian Railways, there's a Vision 2025 manpower requirement with the high-speed railway, NCRTC, and the different kind of the rail yards also getting developed. The last mile connectivity, specifically on the DFCC line, and the yards also getting developed to meet the challenges, meet the parameters of the dedicated freight corridor. There is an enormous amount of manpower requirement, skilled requirement. What we have calculated from various projects and the requirements, it's around 2.2 million skilled resources are required. These are skilled resources, again, not just freshers. So we require this manpower to meet the challenges, the infrastructure growth which we have projected or the government has planned to. And there are very few institutes. There are very few institutes who are actually trying to address this. I have been advocating this concept to the government earlier to Mr. Akhil Agarwal. Also, we met and we explained that there is a requirement and everyone understands it. But unfortunately, at some point of time, it only fizzles down to the private sector to implement. So I will take this forum to request to the government sector also to make some kind of a arrangement between a partnership kind of on the training level also, because technology is fine, but implementation and maintaining that technology is equally important. If we do not have manpower to service that, it is going to be very difficult in meeting up those challenges, and the life cycle cost of those technologies will obviously get into a wastage. So that's something which from our perspective, I am continuously being advocating this thing. Mr. Sharma is also with us, and Yugandhar Sharma sir has been continuously discussing with various stakeholders at various levels to implement it very seriously. People, it looks always a very attractive thing at the first. However, the seriousness of it, when we talk to people, it gets fizzles out after some time. So I take this forum an opportunity to talk to the government also and say that let us take this very seriously and let us invite more private participation so that a mutual growth, the growth targets can be achieved.
Yeah.
If you see that the skill development gap in this rail industry is unlike any other industry, though. So that's if you see the next couple of years, there is a huge shift. We are shifting from an era where the trains were supposed to run at 80 km per hour to 100 kmph to something called 160, 200, 250, 300. Now I think there has been a decision of implementing a maglev train also. So these are decisions being taken. But how are we going to implement and what kind of skills are required to implement those is a matter of concern to all of us. So this is where a cross skilling or a upskilling is very much important, as for my understanding also. If I am in the rail industry and I want to upskill, I don't see anything specific forum where I can upskill ourselves automatically. I work in the rail industry. I've been working in the rail industry for the last 12 years. But upskilling on a specific skill set, I miss it. I cannot go to an Indian Railway and ask them for giving me a specific skill set. So to address all of this, we are basically coming across and giving specific skill set on subjects like signaling, OHE, track maintenance, track detection systems, project management. And as Rail Village, we are also a part of we are independent approved IRSC licensing agency also. And Indian Railway have made it mandatory to have IRS TLO license or IRSC license for working on a signaling project. So we are also facilitators of that. And we are trying to, so it is not my marketing kind of stuff which I am trying to do. I am trying to say that I'm just trying to address a gap which I as a company, as a EPC company is facing, and I'm trying to meet that gap. By that, I am also equipping myself with some skilled workforce to work for my projects, as well as providing it to the industry to take it forward. So if you see, ITWI Rail is the only private institute and in the only private EPC company who have taken these onus on himself, except the sizes of L&T or somebody else, that we have our own physical infrastructure in place with the track signaling, the signaling actual equipments on the labs, the level crossings, to make people be hands-on on what they are going to get when they are on the field. We have courses on designs, electronic interlocking, ETCS, CBTC, testing and commissioning on the track, on OHE. And we have been providing continuous employment to people, as well as also we are providing the other part. Also, we are providing resources to the industry also, as well as to us. What do we get if you are going through we used to do only a classroom training before this pre-pandemic era. The people used to come over here. We have an institute in Bangalore where we have the physical infrastructure, and they used to 3 months courses, and then they used to give placement assistance, and they used to go get jobs. Now what we have converted, that because of the logistical issue and the safety and security of the people, we have converted that as an online live classroom training. So our trainers give online live classroom training for 150 hours. It's each and every day they can sit and they can do a foundation courses available from signaling and telecom, railway electrification. As Sharma sir was suggesting, we have just started a batch very recently on 24th. So how the things goes is like, it's been continuously evaluated. The students been continuously evaluated, and then training is concerned. Training is being imparted. There's practical training. We have some people coming over here also for 7 days to check all the facilities, and then we have exams, continuous assessments. Boss, whoever are the participants over here who wants to get railway jobs, I am telling you very frankly, knowledge is the only criteria. The skill set developing is the only criteria. You cannot have a course, do some certifications and get job in railways and keep it. Railways is a very typical subject, and you need to gain knowledge. You need to be hands-on with whatever you are doing. Otherwise, there is no institute on the world will help you. So you need to gain the knowledge, you need to pass the examinations, you need to go to the placements, and obviously get into the industry. This is one of the most recent initiatives which we have taken, which is we have started something called Swadhyaya, which is a e-learning. It's a self-paced e-learning. This is being targeted towards upskilling. The people who are already, like me, say, I want to know more about train control system. And I do not have time. I am already working in an organization. But I have time in the evening, over the weekend. How do I do it? So we have tried to bring out a self-paced online learning portal which can help people to upskill themselves, get knowledgeable about the different technologies which are upcoming, and finally be ready when say as Manoj was saying, that there are hardly very few people who knows about the onboard systems. So what we're trying to do, we have brought in specific trainers, and we have designed a course according to the industry requirement. We will be evolving those courses and discuss with the industry more what are the requirements, so that whenever the time comes, people should be ready, people should be available on the market. If we start at that point of time when we are getting some jobs, it will again push us back. So that is something which we are trying to address. Existing presently, I think we have 6 courses running, which is signaling design, design on electrification, electronic interlocking, the train control systems, the track detection systems, and rail project management. I would obviously request Manoj also to just check our modules once and see that how are we addressing it, so that what kind of customization is required also as a OEM, what kind of things you are looking at to be providing on the candidates. We can also customize the modules accordingly. We are going to give this to the corporates as well as the retail people, and they can also outsource their entire fresher induction program through these programs. Say we can do online or live training, or we can do a self-paced programs also. So this is what you get right now. We all the course has already launched. It is live. There is a platform called Swadhyaya in which you can. It's a module in which it's a module which can be accessed at your time. You will be getting 3 months or 6 months access, and you are also going to get assessments, and then finally you are going to get a certification. So, and if you are interested, we can also provide internship opportunities as well as placement opportunities as a value-added services. So professional roles, there are plenty. So I have just mentioned few of them over here. These are like the railway industry is the only industry. So the transportation, basically the aerospace, Manoj was part of the aerospace industry. I was also part of the aerospace industry for some time. The railway and the aerospace industry are such unique kind of a trade, where each branch of engineering, starting from civil to the information technology, is being implemented at the full scale. There is nothing called the half-hearted thing. There is a large scale operation of each of the engineering streams involved, from mechanical, from electronics to electrical, everything. So as I already said, we have been the host for this webinar, and I thank each one of you to be part of this webinar. We do end-to-end engineering services for the railways, for Indian Railways as private yards and metros. And we are partners to most of the OEMs like Ansaldo, which is the Hitachi right now. And we have been providing services to the rail industry for the last 10 years. We are a sustainable growth focused company. We have 500 people on board, and I am proud to say that we are on the 50% growth path on the last 3 years. And training vertical is one of our focus verticals to grow, to contribute to ourselves, our growth, as well as the industry growth. As a we also have so many requirements on the project manager scale, POA manager, the engineers, signaling managers, site managers, and these are being posted often on the LinkedIn sites and the various the social media sites. So you can just go into and apply for those positions, or you can go through the courses and go to the placement opportunities. So this is something I wanted to explain. Also, all the people who have registered, thank you so much. I will just give over to Sharma sir to have a closing note with Manoj and all the participants.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarojit. It has been a really wonderful discussion we had over last 2 hours, and then it was very nice of Pradeep Kumar, who joined despite his busy schedule from Railway Board, and also Manoj, despite his compelling, commitment, and he has some commitment to go. I think, Manoj, I think you can leave because you have some important commitment. I saw through the chat box. And
thank you very much, sir.
We will
thank you.
talk about. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. It has been a privilege having you.
Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So coming back to the registered participants, it has been a good discussion. I hope that we have covered everything, including the industry, overview by Pradeep, what has been doing Indian Railways, particularly for signaling, communication, as well as for CCTVs, and then OFC cabling and everything. I just given a very detailed overview what is up there and what is the kind of commitment in terms of expenditure, as well as the requirement of the trained manpower. He also underscored the point that we will need jobs, we'll be needing this skilled manpower, for which there is a gap in training and training in supply and demand. And he has welcomed the idea of Sarojit, whereby he suggested that there should be a PPP tie-up with the Government of India Railways institutions, where private sector can, deliver those training requirements under the banner of the government training institutes, where the candidates can get the certificates, and those certificates can be considered by railways for providing jobs. So that will be definitely a big beginning, and a great source of employment for the young people who want to have career in the rail industry. So I think, gentlemen, thank you very much. I've got a lot of chats, messages from the chat box, very interesting.
Right, sir. We will be addressing all the questions which have not been addressed, and as of yet.
Them I found are quite interesting, very encouraging. They say it's a very good course, very good information. Perhaps I think they're liking it. And we should convert this into getting the people, the young men, for their training, by giving them suitable training. And we already started, and I think more have to follow. So thank you very much, Sarojit.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And I thank all the people of my team also for doing this initiative and bringing this fantastic webinar up. We look forward in keep on continuing this kind of enlightening seminars or webinars, so that we are always into perspective of what we are doing. New technologies, we will be doing something for electrification also in some time, and the tracks also. And please continue learning, and there is no end, or there is no much more joy other than learning. Thank you so much. Yeah. Be safe, be secure, and have a great weekend. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.